Her doctor told her something she never forgot. He said, "Your kidneys are not failing, but they are sending you a message, and you have time to listen." She was 62. Her eGFR had dropped. Her creatinine was creeping up. Nothing dramatic enough to panic, but enough to make her stop and think. And instead of waiting for things to get worse, she made 5 small changes. Not a complete lifestyle overhaul, not a strict dialysis prevention program. 5 manageable kidney habits. That's it. And at her next visit, her numbers had moved. Not cured, not reversed, but moved in the right direction. I'm Grace Wells, kidney and diabetes health educator for older adults. And today I want to walk you through those same 5 habits. Because if you are over 60 and you have ever looked at a lab result and felt confused or worried or like no one explained what you were actually supposed to do next, this video is for you. These are manageable kidney habits after 60, not perfection, not a complete transformation, just 5 things that are small enough to actually do and meaningful enough to matter. Stay with me, because the last habit is the one most seniors never think of, and it may be the most important one of all. Before we get into the habits, I want to say something that I think gets missed in a lot of kidney health content. You do not need a perfect routine to protect your kidneys after 60. That idea, that kidney health requires a complicated, rigid, color-coded daily system, keeps a lot of people from starting at all. They think, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it. And so they do nothing. But that is not how kidney health actually works at this stage of life. What research consistently shows is that small, consistent, sustainable changes, done regularly, have a real impact on how your kidneys function over time. Not dramatic, not overnight, but real. So think of this not as a routine you have to follow perfectly. Think of it as a direction you start moving in, one habit at a time. And here is the thing. The woman I mentioned at the start of this video, she did not do all 5 habits at once. She started with 1, got comfortable, added another, and by her next lab appointment, something had shifted. That is the goal today, not to overwhelm you, to give you a starting point. Let's begin. The first manageable kidney habit after 60 is one that many seniors already have access to, but are not using consistently for their kidneys. Track your blood pressure at home regularly. Now you may be thinking, I already know blood pressure matters, and you're right, but here is what often gets missed in that conversation. High blood pressure is one of the leading causes of kidney damage in older adults. And the reason it is so dangerous is not because it announces itself. It doesn't. Most people feel completely normal with elevated blood pressure. No symptoms, no warning signs. Just quiet, steady pressure against the tiny vessels inside your kidneys, day after day, slowly affecting how well those filters work. For seniors over 60, the kidneys and the blood pressure system are deeply connected. When blood pressure stays elevated, the kidneys have to work harder. When the kidneys are under stress, they can actually make blood pressure harder to control. It becomes a cycle, and it can move slowly enough that you don't notice it until a lab test catches it. This is why tracking at home matters. A reading once a year at your doctor's office tells you one number on one day. A home reading, taken a few times a week, same time each day with a validated cuff, gives your doctor a real picture of what your blood pressure is actually doing. If your doctor has told you to watch your blood pressure, or if you have CKD, diabetes, or are on blood pressure medication, consistent home tracking is one of the most useful things you can do between appointments, not instead of medication. Alongside it, a simple home cuff used a few times a week. That's it. That's the first habit. If this is making you think about your own last blood pressure reading, good. Write down the number, bring it with you to your next appointment. That single action is more valuable than most people realize. The second habit is one that sounds simple, but the way most seniors approach it is leaving important information off the table. Literally. Bring a complete medication list to every doctor's appointment, not just your prescription medications, everything, including over-the-counter pain relievers, vitamins, supplements, and anything herbal you take regularly. Here is why this matters specifically for kidney health after 60. Certain medications that are very commonly used and that feel completely harmless can be harder on the kidneys than most people realize. NSAIDs, which includes ibuprofen and naproxen, are a well-known example. These are over-the-counter pain relievers that millions of seniors reach for regularly. And for people with reduced kidney function, even occasional use can add stress to kidneys that are already working with less reserve than they had at 40. Certain supplements also interact with kidney function in ways that aren't obvious. High-dose vitamin C, some herbal products, protein supplements, these things matter, and your doctor cannot help you navigate them if they don't know you're taking them. The challenge is that many seniors see different doctors, a primary care doctor, a cardiologist, a specialist, and each one may not have a full picture of everything the others have prescribed. The medication list you bring is the connector. It gives every doctor in your care the same starting point. So the habit is this: before your next appointment, sit down with everything you take. Write it all down. The name, the dose, how often you take it. Include the vitamins, include the supplements, include the pain reliever you take for your knee on bad days. That list, brought to every appointment, is one of the most quietly powerful things you can do for your kidney health after 60. And this next habit, it connects to something you are probably already thinking about every single day, starting at breakfast. Habit 3 is about sodium, but I want to approach this differently than you may have heard it before. I'm not going to tell you to eliminate sodium. That is neither realistic nor the same advice for every person. I am going to ask you to choose one lower sodium swap, just one. Starting this week, here is the context. For kidneys that are already working with reduced function, which is common after 60, even in people who have never been diagnosed with kidney disease, high sodium intake means more fluid the kidneys have to manage, more pressure on those tiny vessels, more work for a system that already has less capacity than it did 20 years ago. Dietary sodium also connects directly to blood pressure, which, as we just talked about, is deeply tied to how the kidneys hold up over time. But here is what I want you to understand. The biggest sodium contributors in most senior diets are not the salt shaker on the table. They are things that don't taste salty at all. Bread, canned soups, deli meat, packaged seasonings, frozen meals that are marketed as healthy. These are where the sodium quietly accumulates. And the goal today is not to redesign your entire diet. The goal is to find one item you use regularly and find a version with less sodium. Maybe it is swapping a regular canned soup for a low-sodium version. Maybe it is choosing an unsalted cracker instead of a salted one. Maybe it is checking the sodium on a seasoning blend you use every week and finding an alternative without added salt. One swap, that is the habit. Over time, these swaps compound, but starting with one makes it manageable, and manageable is the point. Now, if your doctor or renal dietitian has already given you specific sodium targets based on your kidney function, your blood pressure, or your medications, follow that guidance. Today's conversation is about where to start, not a replacement for personalized advice. If one small swap feels doable, even just the thought of checking one label in your pantry this week, that is exactly where this kind of change begins. Habit 4 may be the most underestimated one on this list, and I hear about this pattern again and again from older adults who are managing their kidney health. Ask yourself one hydration question every morning. Did I drink enough water yesterday? That's it. Not a complicated tracking system, not a specific ounce target that applies to everyone. Just a moment of awareness, every morning, about how well you hydrated the day before. Here is why this is specifically important for kidney health after 60. The kidney's primary job is filtering waste from your blood. They do this using water. When you are well hydrated, that process runs more efficiently. When you are chronically underhydrated, even mildly, even without feeling intensely thirsty, your kidneys are working with less to do the same amount of filtering. And here is the part that surprises many seniors. The thirst signal gets less reliable as we age. You can be meaningfully underhydrated and not feel particularly thirsty. This means that for older adults, thirst alone is not a reliable guide to how much you've been drinking. This does not mean drinking as much water as possible is always the right approach. For seniors with heart failure, certain kidney conditions, or who are on medications that affect fluid balance, fluid intake needs to be discussed with a doctor. There is no single target that applies to everyone. But for most people, the morning check-in is a simple, zero-cost moment of accountability. Did I drink enough yesterday? If the answer is probably not, start today's glass of water now. Color of urine is one of the simplest indicators. Pale yellow generally suggests adequate hydration. Dark yellow or amber, especially in the morning, is often a sign your body needed more water the day before. One question, every morning. That's the habit, and now we come to the fifth habit. This is the one that most seniors overlook completely, and it may be the one that matters most of all, especially if you are navigating kidney health with a doctor you only see a few times a year. Habit 5, write down one kidney question before every doctor's appointment. Just one, not a list of 15 things, not a full research project. One specific question, written on paper or in your phone, that you bring with you into the exam room. Here is why this habit changes things. Most seniors leave doctor's appointments with unanswered questions, not because the doctor didn't want to help, but because appointments are short, the conversation moves quickly, and it is easy to forget what you meant to ask when you are sitting in the exam room. You walk out, and 20 minutes later, you remember the thing you actually wanted to know. For kidney health specifically, the questions that matter most are often the ones people feel embarrassed to ask, or don't even realize they should be asking. Things like, my eGFR went down slightly from last year, what does that mean for me? Or, I've been reading about phosphorus and my kidneys, should I be watching this? Or, is the pain reliever I take for my back safe given my kidney numbers? Or, my creatinine has been slowly rising over the past few visits. At what point should we be more concerned? These are the questions that come from being engaged in your own care, and they are the questions that, when asked, often lead to answers that genuinely change what you do next. The habit is simple. Before each appointment, think about the one thing you most want to understand about your kidney health. Write it down. Bring it in. Ask it. You don't have to be a medical expert. You don't have to understand all the labs perfectly. You just have to ask the question and then listen to the answer. If one sentence in this video helped you think of a question you want to bring to your next appointment, then this video did its job. And if that thought just crossed your mind, your comment may help another senior realize that same question has been sitting in their head too. So let's bring this together. 5 manageable kidney habits after 60, not a perfect system, not a strict program, a direction, and a starting point. First, track your blood pressure at home, a few times a week, consistently. Give your doctor a real picture, not just one reading a year. Second, bring a complete medication and supplement list to every appointment, every prescription, every over-the-counter medication, every vitamin, every supplement. Your kidney safety depends on your whole care team seeing the whole picture. Third, choose one lower sodium swap this week. Check one label, make one change. Let it become a habit before you add more. Fourth, Ask yourself every morning, did I drink enough water yesterday? Let that simple daily question bring a moment of awareness to something your kidneys depend on every single day. And fifth, write down one kidney question before your next appointment. Bring it in. Ask it. That one question may open a conversation that matters more than you think. These 5 habits are small by design, because small is what gets done. And what gets done consistently is what actually makes a difference over time, especially for kidney health after 60. Now, I want to be clear about something before we close. Everything I share on this channel is for educational purposes. It is not a diagnosis, it is not a treatment plan, and it is not a replacement for your own doctor's guidance. If you have been diagnosed with CKD, if you have diabetes or high blood pressure, if you are on medications for your heart or kidneys, your situation is specific to you. Lab values, kidney function, dietary needs, fluid targets. These vary from person to person based on your stage of disease, your medications, and your full health picture. Please bring today's habits to your doctor or your renal dietitian and talk through what makes sense for your specific situation. That conversation, the one you start, is more important than anything I can say in a video. Before you go, I have a question for you. Of these 5 habits, which one feels the most manageable for you to start this week? Leave a manageable in the comments below, or tell me which habit you're going to try first. Your answer might be exactly what another senior watching this video needed to see. And if the idea of 5 small habits, done consistently, actually feels like something you could do, then you may want to stay with this channel. Because that is exactly what we focus on here. Clear, practical, kidney-specific guidance for people over 60 who want to understand their health and be active in their own care. You don't have to figure this out alone, and you don't have to do it all at once. Start with one habit, see what shifts. Next time, we're going to talk about 5 foods that don't taste salty, but that quietly add up to a real sodium load for seniors managing kidney health. Some of them are in almost every pantry, and most people never think to check them. That video is coming next. I'll see you there.